So for the lab activity number 1, the first thing that is needed to be done is to get the sequence from the user. That inputted sequence will then be stored in the xn variable. Then this ln variable right here will store whatever the length of the inputted sequence. And then the xk and the ixk variable will initialize an array of the same size as that of the inputted sequence. For this code block right here, this is the code block in finding the DFT of the sequence. For the next block of code, which is this one, this is going to be the code in plotting the input sequence, subplot 2 to 1. The features of the plot would be t and the xn, grid for plotting, and the y-axis will have a label of amplitude, x-axis will have the label time index, the title of the graph would be input sequence. For this code right here, this is going to be used in finding the magnitudes of the individual DFT points. And in plotting that magnitude, this is going to be the block of code for that. Subplot 2 to 2, the features of the graph is t and magnitude. Y-axis label would be amplitude, x-axis label would be k, and the title of the graph would be magnitude response. This line of code right here, the phase equal the angle of xk, would be for finding the phases of the individual DFT points. And for plotting that, this would be the block of code. Subplot 2 to 3, features t and phase, y-axis label of phase, x-axis label name is k, and the title of the graph would be phase response. This block of code right here is going to be used for finding the IDFT of the sequence, and that would be stored in the ixk variable. Then this block of code right here would be used for plotting the IDFT sequence. Subplot 2 to 4, features is t and xn, y-axis label name is amplitude, x-axis label name is time index, and title of the graph would be IDFT sequence. This last block of code would be for displaying the DFT sequence and the IDFT sequence. So, say for example, the inputted sequence is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The DFT will be displayed here, which is stored in the xk variable, and the ixk variable will be displayed, which is the IDFT sequence. And then the graph would be this 4 graph right here, the input sequence graph, magnitude response, phase response, and the IDFT.